New RPGs, new Game of Thrones TV shows, and a new Lord of the Rings anime.
That is an encouraging thought.
Welcome to Fantasy News Friday, our weekend news rundown. Today we're talking about a ton of new tabletop news, plus some Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings updates. Remember, if you like these kinds of stories, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons so we can keep making them. Now, on to the news.
Hot damn!
Dicebreaker is no more. This week, the primary staff members of Dicebreaker, Matt Jarvis, Alex Meehan, and members of the video team all announced that they had been let go following the Ziff Davis purchase of the Gamer Network. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Dicebreaker, Dicebreaker was basically a tabletop news site. No Dicebreaker article has been posted since the Ziff Davis purchase back in late May. Now, Dicebreaker had been a steady part of the tabletop gaming industry since its launch several years ago, with a rare 100% focus on tabletop and actual play coverage. The media landscape has been perilous for years, and that goes double for dedicated spaces to hobbies in general. There's a lack of consistent news coverage in tabletop. Most of the folks who do this are either underpaid, wear many hats, or both. And while the tabletop industry itself is a growing one, it seems like the journalism surrounding it is getting cut off at the knees before it can all get started. Now, I could rant on and on and on about this, but this is a news video and we're not talking about journalism. But the takeaway here is support good journalism, and I really hope to get to see the Dicebreaker crew's bylines again here very soon.
No, the journey doesn't end here.
The Heroes of Might and Magic is coming to the tabletop. Modiphius has announced that it is partnering with a Polish studio to make a tabletop RPG based on the video game franchise Heroes of Might and Magic, with a Kickstarter coming in early 2025. Now, this game will use Modiphius' 2D20 system and actually marks the first time that the 2D20 system has been used for a high fantasy setting, which is kind of impressive given that, like every third RPG is a high fantasy RPG. Anyways, be sure to check it out in 2025.
Patience, my friend.
The new edition of Pendragon is officially out now. Chaosium has officially released the new version of its Arthurian tabletop RPG this week. Now, the game uses a traits and passion system that acts as kind of an alignment system of sorts, with each player having 13 pairs of traits that act as contrasts, and players receiving checks and certain traits based on their actions in the game. As traits become more defined, it becomes harder to act against those traits, which can have an impact on the story and impact your roles in certain scenarios. Now, we've received a review copy of the game, and we'll try to give our thoughts on it in a future video.
Check this out.
George R.R. Martin claims that a new pilot script for a scrapped Game of Thrones spin-off is underway. According to Martin, Ebony Booth is writing the pilot episode for 10,000 Ships, which is set in the distant past of Westeros and features an ancestor of House Martell. The project was originally in the works back in 2021, but was scrapped. Now, HBO, of course, has plenty of Game of Thrones projects in the work, and coincidentally, House of the Dragon Season 2 is starting this week.
Very good.
The new Lord of the Rings anime looks a heck of a lot like Fire Emblem. This week, Warner Brothers released a first look at War of the Rohirrim, a new anime film that tells the story of Helm Hammerhand as he defends Rohan from an invasion of Dunlendings. The images we saw were clearly inspired by Peter Jackson's take on the franchise, but also embraces a distinctive anime aesthetic. Honestly, the thing looks more than a bit like a Fire Emblem anime, and that's awesome.
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
The award-winning Jiangshi Blood in the Banquet Hall is getting a second print. Wet Ink Games and Read Write Memory have announced that the horror game, which focuses on a Chinese immigrant family surviving both racism and Jiangshi, which are like stiff-armed jumping vampires from Chinese mythology, in a 1920s Chinatown, will be returning with a new setting book that includes a ton of great writers that you've probably heard of. The game itself includes a mix of restaurant management and dealing with the recurring haunting of Jiangshi, with the game itself using a card system to help manage stress, tasks, and transforming into a vampire. The second printing will launch on BackerKit next month, and I highly encourage that everyone checks it out.
Can't wait.
And finally, Critical Role is leveling up their Daggerheart characters. Today, Critical Role posted a brief level up sequence for the Menagerie, with several of the players getting access to some pretty awesome abilities. Travis's wizard character, for instance, gets to add 2d10 extra damage on some of his abilities.
I'll take that next level.
So that one's pretty cool.
Yep. Also, it makes me a goddamn sexual tyrannosaur.
The small text says that, yeah.
And also, he attends furry conventions on the weekends.
While the Menagerie probably won't be the official cast of Critical Role's eventual Daggerheart campaign, it's pretty clear that the cast has fully bought into Daggerheart, and that the game will be a large part of their actual play plans moving forward.
I believe that concludes our level up to
Oh
5 and
boy, oh
6.
So we now get to play, right? Now we get to play?
So,
I'm ready.
Tonight.
soon. Soon.
Well, that's all the news stories that we have today. Let us know what your favorite story was in the comment section, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.